Hey folks, today we're covering Tinto Talks 77 and a bit more of a mundane, I guess, dev diary today. Not that it's not interesting, but Johan's going to be here talking to us about the UI, how it works, the different features they've brought in from other Paradox games, and also some new features that aid you in your ability to play the game and how it works. And the first thing they're going to cover here is tooltips. I'm really saying at the beginning here, without a good tooltip system, a game can be almost unplayable, and that is very true for a game like EU5. It's one of the things I don't like about EU4. This was before really like nested tooltips existed, and as such it's very hard to find information about how certain systems work, what certain icons are, what certain things are in the game. And as you can see in this screenshot, they have brought over the system that first was used in Crusader Kings. It was also used in Victoria 3 as well. A very good system. You see this in a lot of games now, but as you can see, you can click on research, and then if you don't know what advances are, you can hover over that, and then a tooltip will appear telling you what advances are. If then you didn't know what research meant, you could hover over that. It would tell you what research meant, or again, if you didn't know what ages were, you could hover over that and it would tell you what an age is. The other thing you can see in this screenshot is the view hint system. They're going to talk about that later on. That is something new to this game. The other thing that EU5 has is a lot of resources, a lot of sources that can affect resources and numbers. And what they've done is added this kind of tooltip here. So you can see this for the trade range of England. So you can see the base value for every country, plus 1,000. Protect trade routes, that is a modifier. That is plus 10% to the number. So you can always see here like what the base is of something, and then everything you have in your realm that is affecting that number. So if you come into the game for the first time and you see this number, you'd be like, what's protect trade routes? You can hover over that and it will tell you what protect trade routes is, where you can find it, and if you want to retract that and not have it, how you can then do that as well in your game. So again, really having at your fingertip information that you need, so you don't need to go off to like a wiki or watch a YouTuber explain to you how a system works. Who wants to be doing that? You can do that in game, and it is a lot easier. They're going to show off here another tooltip. This is for the English trade capacity in London. So you can see here all the information you will get. You will see the full trade capacity. You can see what is affecting it. In this case, the London Market Centre, the London Wharf, the Colchester Wharf, and the Lynn Wharf. They're all giving you a modifier that is increasing your trade capacity. And again, you can hover over all the blue text and it will give you a breakdown of that. If you click on the locations, I believe it takes you to that location. So again, you can see what's there, what's affecting it. And then if you want to upgrade it, if you want to change it, you can then do so, and you know then like what effect that will have. You can see that it affects your trade capacity and what changes you want to make based on that. You can also see in the tooltip, left click, show our trades in this market, and it will open that up. Or if you want to right click, build trade capacity, it will then give you options as to like what kind of buildings you can build, and then you can click on those locations and upgrade those buildings or build new buildings that affect your trade capacity. So again, very easily kind of guiding you through the system and how you can make changes. Obviously, once you've played the game for like 500, 1,000 hours, you're going to know all this information. But if you're coming to the game new, or if you're coming from EU4 and you don't understand like a lot of the new trade things, this is going to help you quite a bit. The next thing they're going to show is what happens in the tooltip if you don't have the ability to do something that you want to do. It will actually tell you in the tooltip what is happening and why you can't do it. So in this case, they're trying to revoke an estate privilege from the noble estate, that is manorial courts. And you can see at the bottom there, we can't afford the stability cost. That is a ludicrous stability cost, to be honest. 231, can't do it. You don't even have that much stability in the game. So you're not going to be able to do this. You're going to have to try revoke this through another means or make them less powerful, and then it will be cheaper to revoke this privilege. Again, you can hover over some of the stuff here and it will tell you, what this means, where you can get this currency, and all that kind of stuff as well. The next thing they're going to show off, something in every Paradox game really, and that is the outliner. You can see it on the screen now. This will show you a bunch of information. You could track your armies, your construction, locations, if things are building, your current navies, what people in your cabinet are up to. You can even see here you have 2 empty cabinet slots, so that would remind you, oh, I need to go and fill those as quick as possible. And let me know what you think about this outliner in EU5. I think it looks okay. I'm not sure about some of the color choices. I will say it looks quite big in this screenshot, but you can actually shrink this down. You can like collapse it a little bit and it isn't as wide. So it kind of moves everything to the right hand side. So you can't see as much of the text, but you can see like you've got your armies, you've got your markets, your cities, things like that. And so at a glance, you can see stuff, and then you can hover over it and it will pop out. So how it looks now, and you can see more information, or you can lock it in this view as well. You might want to shrink it down if you're playing on a lower resolution because it would take quite a bit of your screen space, but it is very good. At a glance, you can see a lot of information. Again, I'm not sure about the colors and how it kind of looks exactly, like the actual graphical side of it, but the information it shows is very important, so it is pretty cool to see. And as part of that, you do have a bunch of settings. You can see that on the screen now, so you can fine-tune this. If you want to see certain things in the outliner, if you don't want to see some things, you can highlight them here and then they will appear in the outliner or not. So if you want to like majorly focus in one area of the game, you can have all of this in the outliner, make it very big, but again, you can see everything. Or if you're playing much more of like a warfare game, maybe you'll get rid of some of these options and then you can just have your important information around armies, you know, your navy, maybe building queues, things like that. And then it's the most relevant information to you. Again, really good. You can customize this. The next thing they're going to cover is the right-click interface. This will allow you to take actions that otherwise you would have to dig into other menus to do. And you can see that on the screen now. This is for the County of Holland. If you right-click this location, you can see all these different options you can quickly take. You can go to the capital, you can open the country panel for whoever owns it, open all the diplomatic actions, but if you don't want to do that, you can just improve opinion very quickly, profess trust, curry favors, build spy network, declare war on them. So again, as you can see, this would save you going into the diplomacy menu separately just to build some opinion with them. You could just very quickly do it from this right-click UI. You could do this in a lot of areas of the game. It does a lot of different stuff, but this is a good example of looking at the map and just being able to quickly make some decisions and get those implemented without digging through other things as well. The next thing they're going to show you is what happens if you right-click a unit. And as you can see, there's a bunch of options here. You can split the unit in half. You can balance the unit if it's been in combat, make the different flanks that little bit more balanced. You can detach levies, order full retreat, attach to different units, all these different things you can do. And again, it's just very quick at a glance, right click, I could do this. You're not having to dig into the military UI to do some of these things. Obviously, it will be easier to do that in some circumstances, but you can just very quickly right-click this, build to navy. If you click that, you'll then open the UI to build ships, and then those ships will just automatically go to this navy and attach to them, and you can get on with your campaign with a little bit less effort on your side. And the next thing they're going to cover is something that is also in most Paradox games, and that is the alert system. They do say here this was first brought in with a Revolutions DLC for the original Victoria almost 20 years ago, and it has probably been in every Paradox game since then. In EU4, there were 3 different alert colors. I think they were red, yellow, and green, depending on how important they were. In EU5, there's an additional 3 colors as well, and they're going to go through these here. So orange alerts are between yellow and red in danger, so something that is very important, but not quite as important as, you know, you're at war with somebody, you have no money, something like that. Something in between those 2 levels of danger. The blue alerts that you can see in the screenshot as well are purely like hints or tips or like something that you should take care of, but it isn't actually gameplay focused for the most part. And then you can have purple alerts, which are for situations and disasters. They've shown those off in previous screenshots as well. But you can see an example here again. If you've played EU4, if you've played Crusader Kings, you've seen something very similar to this. I mean, if you've played EU4, it's almost exactly the same. Obviously, slightly different graphics and different things on here, but it is exactly how it works in EU4. And again, you can see excess trade capacity. You can hover over this. What's this notification about? And you can see, oh, I've got some extra things I can do here. Maybe I'll do some extra trades. Maybe I'll turn on the AI automated trading system and let the computer figure out my trades. I'm busy in a war or something like that, and then come back to it later on if you do want to. And again, you can click on these. It'll tell you what they're on about, and then you can figure out if you want to do something about it now or if you want to do something about it later on. Again, if you've played EU4, if you've played Crusader Kings, you know all of this. But if you're a new person coming to this game after the release announcement yesterday, it is cool to see all these features and how they do play out. The next thing they're going to talk about is messages. Again, another classic system coming from EU4, and it is in every Paradox game once again. And this will just show you information that's very important to you. And you get told our monarchy is making a change to the government, and this is what's happening. Just so you're aware of changes. This is very important. Again, if you do automate some things, you can automate like the side of your government as well. So if you do that for whatever reason, you will be able to see what changes the government has made if you're busy doing other things as well. So really just very informational pop-ups. You see changes that have been made, nothing too crazy here. The next thing he's going to show is those message settings. Again, if you played any of the recent Paradox games, you've seen something like this, and you can decide. So in this example, military message settings, you can decide, will this be a pop-up? Will this just be a notification on the right-hand side? Will the game pause if this happens? And how visible is this as well? So those are the options to choose. The pause gameplay one is one that you'll probably mess around with a little bit. You know, if you're one of these players that plays at speed 5, but you want to make sure the game pauses when like an army arrives in your land, something like that. If war's declared on you, you definitely want the game to pause so you can really see what's happening and interact with that before you speed the game back up again. So that is, again, how you can fine-tune this message system and get it working exactly how you want to. The next thing they're going to cover is the search and filters. Nothing too crazy here. You can basically search for anything in these different boxes and it will bring you different kind of answers depending on what you do. This is really cool for buildings. He doesn't show this as an example, but for the building UI, you can search something like trade capacity and it will show you any building that would increase that thing. So again, you can put in manpower and it will only then show you buildings that affect manpower. So it allows you to very quickly find buildings that you want. Or again, if you're new to the game and you don't know how some things work, if you're thinking like, oh, I wish I had more manpower, you can type in manpower, and then it will tell you, oh, build these buildings, and you'll get more manpower. Again, just really helping you play the game, get used to it, get used to the changes from EU4, all that kind of stuff. And you can also see the filters there, so this allows you to kind of specialize it even more if you want to, whether a place has enough population, that kind of stuff to build certain buildings. The next thing they're going to show is the map mode color ledger. We'll do this very quickly. It's pretty obvious. It shows you what the map means. So in this example, what the proximity colors mean. Obviously, in your capital, very blue. Around it, a lot of proximity. Once you get far away from it, not so much proximity. You're not going to get much out of those lands, but again, at a glance, you can see that. And then the last thing they're going to cover here is the hint system. This is a new system, and it can be accessed from the top left menu, but you can also shift-click alerts, as we saw earlier, and bring this system up. So the hint system has a few flavorful quotes at the top, kind of giving you a little bit of a talk about what you've clicked on, and then it will also give you some hints on how to do things, some suggestions. So they do say here this was inspired by the advisors of Civilization 2, which is pretty cool, going back to an older Civ game, and these advisors that would tell you, you know, like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do something else? This will help you in your campaign. And you can see in this example, Sir Patrick here, an army should always have a leader, but we should exercise caution, for commanders will use their influence to increase the power of their estate. So obviously in this example, somebody has an army without a commander, and the hint system saying like, hey, you really should put a commander in this army. It will be significantly worse if you don't. But then as you can see below that, it gives you like reasons as to why, and then also how you do this. And you can see that under the lack of commander option here, you can see other hints above it that aren't related to this, other hints that have kind of stacked up for you to read at a later time. But you can see our units need to have a commander appointed in order to perform adequately in battle. Recommended action, click on the alert that you can see in your UI to select a suitable character for this. You'll get a big list of commanders and then you'll be able to choose the one you want to select. You can also do this by clicking on the unit either in the map or in the outliner and then selecting a commander. If you don't have any good commander characters, you can also train one through this different panel, and again you can click on that and it will take you to that panel. You can then get a commander and then put them in this unit. So again, giving you the steps on how to rectify this issue. And then you can also see there are some additional hints as well. Do not start a battle without a commander, really nailing into that you need a commander. So again, you have these traits that you have on characters. Some of them affect combat, some of them affect other things. But you can have commanders that are better admirals, better commanders, better at certain types of commanding, things like that. So really telling you here, some characters are better at certain things. And then the last thing, some laws might put restrictions on who is eligible for command. So if they're a holy character, if they're male or female, other things as well. I can't think of the other things off the top of my head, but there are things that limit who can be a commander, and you can change that usually with your laws and other things as well. And with that, that is the end of the dev diary this week. I am a bit surprised that they did this as the first dev diary after the release announcement. I kind of thought they'd do something a little bit more exciting for that. I mean, the UI is interesting. It is something that's very important, can really cause problems with grand strategy games. I'm thinking of Civ 7, so having some focus on this is important. It is good to show this off. The actual UI itself, I do think it needs more work. Something about it just doesn't look quite right. I think the main thing that sticks out for me is some sections have like texture behind them, but then other sections of the UI don't have texture behind them, and some of the colors just look a little bit strange. But we'll see if there's any improvements before the game comes out. As we know, that is on the 4th of November, so it's with us very soon, so I doubt we'll see much change now to the UI. I do think there will be improvements in the future. Some things, as I said, just don't look quite right in the UI. It doesn't look very unified in some places. But again, maybe they've got a build that they haven't shown off yet that does have some further improvements. We've definitely seen improvements from the start of all these dev diaries, but I do think there's some work still to go. But anyway, let me know what you think about this. It is really good to see them bringing over the best systems from like Crusader Kings, Victoria, and these other games that they've had previous work on, and implementing them in EU5, making this game a lot more approachable. That is one of the things that EU4 has against it. It's a great game, but it's very hard to get into it. It's almost impossible to learn it just by playing it because of how the systems work, how the tooltips don't really exist, and how you can't find a lot of information in the game you do have to look elsewhere to figure out how things work. It looks like they really are trying to reverse that in EU5 and make everything very readable and have everything very approachable. You can find things. If you don't know how a system works, you can just hover over it, get a tooltip. That isn't dumbing the game down. That isn't making it easier to play. It's just making it more easy to kind of understand what's going on. And then you can use your brain power on actually playing the game instead. But anyway, let me know what you think about all this. Hit that like button if you've enjoyed the video today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've covered all the dev diaries. We're almost at launch now, I suppose. So we'll soon get some final dev diaries. We know Castile is coming on Friday. We'll find out about the content around there. And then we do know they're getting DLC, so I guess they won't talk about that. They'll talk about the launch content for Castile. I'm sure some information about Iberia and then also exploring the New World, all that kind of stuff they got up to. But anyway, we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you all next time.